So welcome back to those who might have watched me before. Today's video I'm going to be going through a few things that you need to consider and think about before developing your store. So before you even actually find that developer to work on your store, these are things that you need to have in place or to think about. Some of them just help you to hit the ground running and start things off faster, but some of them are really essential to have in place before you actually go ahead and develop your store, because it could affect your project as you go on. So these are all important issues, I think, and all important points that you need to think about, but I'll go through each one in turn and you'll see what I mean. The first point I want to talk to you about today is have a good spec in place. So it can be tempting, can't it, to sort of start your project with a basic idea of what you want and maybe not a fully fleshed out sort of plan of where you're going with it, exactly what you're trying to achieve, what your end goal is, you know, a vision of what that site looks like once it's actually built and launched and people are using it. But I think this is a really important one to get right from the start. So before you contact a developer or have any work actually done in terms of building the store or even designing the store or any copy written, any SEO related stuff, any of that kind of stuff that you want to have worked on your store, all of which you'll need, I would strongly recommend you get a really solid spec in place first. Without this, you're going to struggle to move forward with any pace on your project. You're going to struggle to have the things in place that you need to really help you hit the ground running. And also those people that you're going to be working with to enable your project and to build your project, you're going to have lots of questions asked about these things anyway, so it's a good idea to get these things in place right from the start. So if you can have a really clear and a detailed spec as much as possible about your project and do all that you can to just get the things in place to be able to inform those people you're going to be working with about what exactly you're trying to achieve, what does that business do, what is the end goal of your store. So that's a really important one. Get a really good spec in place and have as much detail ready and to hand as you can about your project before you actually start paying out on any development or costs of any sort around design or SEO or anything like that. So have a good spec, and that's a really key one to start with. That will really help you to hit the ground running. The second thing that I want to talk to you about is to make sure that your budget fits your spec. So don't be over ambitious with your spec. If your budget is not huge, if you haven't got endless money to spend, which who has, then make sure that your budget fits the spec that you've got. It doesn't mean that you have to know the cost of every single thing and how much something might be to develop and how much this and that extension is, but make sure the budget that you've got and the spec that you've got seem sensible and seem like they're going to work well together, because the last thing you want to do is to be putting pressure on the project after you've started because the budget isn't really there to achieve what you've asked to be achieved within the spec. So you want to get to the end goal of what you want to achieve according to your spec. Your spec may not be everything that you want to achieve in a long-term goal, and I'll talk about that in a bit, but make sure that what you've got there really matches a budget that you've got. And I'm not saying that you should expect to have the full budget available right from the start for your project. I think that development of, particularly of a brand new store, but also of customization of a store, it should be something that is not only ongoing, but that you may release budget as time goes on. So you'll do your normal work and your normal income will be coming in, and that money you can then plough back into the store. You're not necessarily looking to have a huge capital right up front and to set that aside just for the development of the store, but you should have an idea in your head and make sure it works on paper, that you know how much profit you've got and how much money you've got to spend on your store each month or whatever each quarter or however regularly you want to spend on it, and make sure that you've got that money available, because if you want to achieve a certain thing and you haven't got the money there, then that can put pressure on both you and the developer and other people who may be working on your project. So yeah, make sure that your budget makes sense according to the spec that you've got, and if it seems that your spec is a little over ambitious, perhaps just scale it back a bit and you can add those features on later on. So it's not really a problem to do that. Just make sure that your budget works and your spec works, and then you can build on that as time goes on. Again, this one carries on from the previous point, and this I think is a really important one, and that is, don't seek perfection straight away. I know that sounds like a bit of a weird one. You want your store to be exactly how you want it to be. You want it to be developed exactly how you have in your head and to be perfect when it goes live and people actually start using your store. But I think that this can be a bit of a red herring actually, that it's not always achievable. So you may find that you have to go a good way down the line of the exact image of the website and the store that you've got in mind, but you have to launch before that time, just to get the thing live and get it making money, and then after that you can continue developing on that store. So I don't think it's really an issue to not have the site live in a perfect state straight away, because what you'll find is as you go down the line it will evolve and it will develop according to how people use the site and how they buy and how you interact with the users. They'll give you feedback and they'll give you thoughts about how they want that store to work and extra features they want and all these kinds of things. So don't seek perfection straight away, because your version of the perfect site or the perfect store that you've got in your head might not actually fit the customer expectation and what they want anyway. So my advice would be, seek to build something that works well and is a good user experience and is a good store and a good site to use, but don't seek to fit it exactly into the vision that you've got for that store right from the start. That may be what you end up using and developing further down the line, but get it launched, get it making money in a good, workable, usable state that gives the users a good user experience. But don't seek perfection, because there's a chance that you'll never actually get there before you launch, and that can be a real blocker. So the next point I want to talk about is to plan for development to carry on after launch. So you might have built your store, you might have launched it, you're really happy, it looks great, people are starting to use it, but don't consider that the journey of building and developing and refining your store finishes at the point that you launch it, because that's just not the case realistically. You'll find that the best stores and the best websites of any kind are always evolving, they're always changing, and you need to be the same really, don't you? You need to be evolving your store, you need to be evolving your offering and adding to it and refining it according to what the customers need. So plan on that development continuing after you've actually launched your store. And for most people, for many of the clients that I've worked with, the store development has been an ongoing thing. So there's always been something new that's required, something new that's coming up, whether that be a redesign or it may be features added or whatever it is. There's always going to be something else that you can do to that store to improve the customer experience and improve the offering that you're giving to your customers. So that's a really important one as well. Plan for that development to carry on. It doesn't mean that after launch you have to continue to plow in the same kind of budget that you have during development. Development is going to be more money required realistically to actually get that built and off the ground, but after launch you should still plan to have budget set aside to have monthly development on your store to really build that. Once it's built and once it's developed and it's launched, you'll have a good product and a good base to then build on and continue to attract more customers. And actually customers, they don't mind that there are changes going on the site, especially if it's a new one and it's a new store. They'll kind of expect changes, and they'll expect it to be evolving, and they'll expect it to be changing and developing, and you to be offering more to them. So that's actually something that a lot of customers will look out for. They'll look out for your store to be changing and developing after launch, to show that it's active and it's alive, and you really care about what the customer wants, and you're striving to make the store the best offering that you can for those customers. So yeah, just plan for development to continue after launch, and you'll keep evolving your offering, and you'll be offering a better and better product to your customer all the time. So thanks very much for watching the video. I hope it's been really useful for you, giving you some good pointers and some good thoughts about what you need to think about before you actually get your store developed. My aim really with these videos is to give you some genuinely useful thoughts and pointers about working with developers, and what you need to have in place in order to make that process as efficient and smooth running as possible. So my name is John Hussey. I've been a Magento developer since 2010, so around 11 years now. I've had quite a lot of experience both at the high end of the market, so with corporations and businesses which have both nationwide bricks and mortar presence and online presence, right down to kind of smaller family run stores. So I've kind of seen both ends of the market, and my aim with these videos is to just give feedback, my thoughts really about how I've found it working with clients, and what I've seen of the needs of the clients and the needs of the developer over those years of developing Magento. So I wanted to just really sort of feedback and give you some genuinely useful information and thoughts of how I've found stores are best developed and most efficiently developed over the years. So to that end, I actually developed and I'm the founder of a service called Developer Connection, and this is an open marketplace where you as a client can go and you can find UK based quality Magento development talent at really good value, so at a budget which works for what you've got. You can find a developer on there, or multiple developers actually, who will really fit your budget. I've made other videos about that as well, so check out our YouTube channel and you can watch more about that, and you can learn more about that. But I hope today's video has been really useful for you, and if it has, then I've really achieved my goal. So thanks again for watching.